Am I the a-hole for cutting off my daughter's college fund after she chose her deadbeat bio mom? I'm a single dad to my 18-year-old daughter Emma. Her bio mom left us when she was young, and I've raised her with the help of my wife, who has been a wonderful mother figure. Recently, Emma started reconnecting with her bio mom, and I initially supported this, hoping it would be a positive experience. However, it quickly became apparent that her bio mom hadn't changed. Emma began making excuses for her and started exhibiting increasingly hostile behavior toward my wife. She would say things like, "Maybe I'll just move in with my mom and leave you both behind," and "You're not my real mom anyway, so what do you care?" It escalated to threats where she implied she would ruin our lives if we'd try to stop her from pursuing this relationship. During a heated argument, Emma expressed her desire to move in with her bio mom. This was the breaking point for me. Feeling that I needed to set boundaries, I decided to cut off her college fund and told her she had to leave our home. Since then, my family has been vocal about their disapproval. They believe I should have been more understanding and that I overreacted. Some even argue that I'm pushing her further away and harming our relationship permanently. They think I should have tried harder to support her rather than resorting to such drastic measures. Am I the a-hole for taking this step, or was I justified in cutting her off? Edit, my daughter also accused me of always loving my wife over her, but it was the other way around. Her biological mother abandoned us, and now she confides in her. Now for the top comments before reading the mini updates. Just let her figure out that her bio mom is a POS. That's the best way to go about it. This is the best advice right here. Kinda similar situation for me. Mom left when I was 3 and didn't want anything to do with me. I tried to reconnect with her in high school and held her on a pedestal for some reason. She didn't show up for my graduation, wedding, birth of my first child. At that point, mid-20s, it finally hit me what kind of mother she is. OP, it may take some time and some big milestones, but your daughter will see her mom for who she is. Just be there for her and don't trash talk her mom. I have mad respect for my dad because of it, and we are super close. Oh, and guess who's never met my youngest child? Sometimes you have to let them experience it for themselves. It hurts, but that journey can lead to growth and a better appreciation for those who truly care. Not the a-hole. Your daughter is old enough to understand the consequences of her actions. It's important to set boundaries and maintain them, even if it means cutting off financial support. Hopefully, she will come to realize the gravity of her words and actions and learn from this experience. As for your family, ultimately it's your decision as a parent and they should respect that. I agree. Your daughter is desperate for the approval of the parent who rejected her all these years. It's common. But after living with your ex full-time, your daughter will eventually see that she is not a suitable parent and realize how good she had it. It will take time. As for your family, it's easy for them to judge, but they are not experiencing the day-to-day situation that you and your wife are. Ignore them, not the a-hole. Now for the updates. So a lot of you have been advising me to give her the college fund, and I think I agree. I shall give her the college fund, but I will not ask her to come back to me. That's her own free will, I guess. Update 2. Thanks to everyone who commented on my original post. I didn't expect to have an update so quickly, but a lot has happened in just the past few hours. About an hour after I posted, I got a message from Emma asking if we could meet up. She suggested a nearby coffee shop, and although I was unsure of what to expect, I agreed to meet her. When I arrived, I could tell right away that something was different. Emma looked exhausted and stressed, not at all like the confident person who left our home. She told me that her time with her bio mom had been a disaster. Not only had her mom treated her coldly, but she also demanded an exorbitant amount of money for rent, far more than Emma could afford. It became clear to Emma that her mom wasn't interested in having a real relationship with her, just in using her for financial gain. Emma was visibly upset as she apologized for the way she had treated me and my wife. She admitted that she'd made a huge mistake and asked if she could come back home. It was obvious she was genuinely remorseful, and she said she realized now how much we had done for her. I told her that I'm willing to work on rebuilding our relationship, but it's going to take time and effort on both sides. We discussed setting some boundaries and working through the issues that led to all of this in the first place. She agreed, and we left the coffee shop with a plan to move forward, one step at a time. It's not going to be an easy road, but I'm hopeful that we can heal from this and come out stronger on the other side. I'm still processing everything, but I'm relieved that Emma wants to make things right. I also agreed to pay for her college, and she is really happy now, by the way. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my son-in-law move his new girlfriend and her 10 kids into my dead daughter's home? 1 decade ago, I, 64 female, bought a large 7-bedroom house for my daughter and her husband, 35 male, after they found out they were expecting a baby. My darling daughter and granddaughter tragically passed away 8 years ago in an accident. The loss of the 2 most important people in our lives was the most devastating time my son-in-law and I had ever experienced. In these past few years, I have gotten closer with my son-in-law, and I consider him the closest thing I have left to a child. I allowed him to keep living the house I'd bought. 4.5 years ago, he met his current girlfriend, 34 female, at a grief support group, and they began dating. She had 4 children, 17 female, 14 female, 12 male, and 5 male, from 3 previous relationships. She'd also adopted her stepchildren, 11 female and 9 male, she had from her late husband. Since they started dating, she has also become the guardian of her younger siblings, 10 female and 7 male, and her eldest daughter had a son who is now 4 months old. My son-in-law has seen as a father figure to his girlfriend's kids. He looks after them while she works, sometimes drives them to and from school, helps take care of the baby, and does the things a father would typically do. Honestly, I never thought it would last this far. His girlfriend has been going through a lot of financial problems. She lives in a small 3-bedroom apartment and relies heavily on my son-in-law for money. In the past year, she has quit her 2nd and 3rd job due to the money she gets from him. His girlfriend recently found out she was pregnant, and he decided that this was his sign to take their relationship further and move his girlfriend and soon-to-be 10 kids into the home. I said, absolutely no chance. I bought this home for my daughter and granddaughter. He argued that I'd previously promised to allow his future family live in the house. Well, I knew that he would have to move on eventually. I said that assuming he wouldn't date a single mother of 10 kids. I said she was using him as a way of providing for her litter of kids, and he was disrespecting my daughter by moving a woman like her into my daughter's home. He said his girlfriend was having his baby, and he had a duty to take responsibility. He said she's a hard-working woman who overcame a troubled upbringing and cares about children, even if they're not biologically hers. I told him that the house was legally still mine, and I refused to let her move in. He claimed that they were in a long-committed relationship, and moving in together was long overdue. I said they could do what they want, as long as she stays out of my daughter's house. He accused me of being judgmental and elitist. Am I the a-hole? You know, she may be an incredibly compassionate person, but she has 10 kids, 4 bio ones, so she, knows how this works. I get that birth control can fail, but you'd think someone responsible for 10 kids would make sure in every possible way not to get pregnant. But suddenly she's with a financially stable guy without a mortgage and a 7-bedroom house, and whoops! She may be deeply kind, but she's also irresponsible, and so is he. Seriously, does no one care for these kids' stability? Anyway, irresponsible people are not who you want in a house you own. Plus, 11 kids and 2 adults. That house will be trashed. So while I don't love your judgment of her, it's not without merit. And if he isn't listed as an owner, he has no rights to the house. And you have to protect your investment. Not the a-hole. 4 biological children, and the one she had at 17 just had her own kid at 17. Opie sounds pretty judgmental of the girlfriend's choices. But honestly, if solely for the stability of all these kids, I'm feeling pretty judgmental myself, not gonna lie. 4 bio kids out of 3 relationships at 34. Now preparing the 5th bio kid, her 17-year-old already a mom. I am sorry for the children, but I understand Opie's frustration and decision. Not the a-hole, I am sorry for your loss, Opie. I wonder where the fathers of her earlier children are. You need to sell the house and cut ties with this guy. He's trying his luck. You don't owe him anything. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for excluding my older sister for having parentification trauma? My 35 female younger siblings, 34 female, 31 male, 31 female, and 30 male, were practically raised by our older sister, 40 female. Neither of our parents were there for us, so she had to act like a mother to us despite being a child herself. She never had time for studying, socializing, or hobbies, and both her grades and her mental health were greatly affected. She started working at age 13 and dropped out of school at 16 to work full-time to support us. Due to her childhood, she can't handle being around children at all. They trigger her trauma, and she starts crying, panicking, and having anxiety attacks. We all tried to be supportive of her. The thing is, between the 5 of us, we have 16 children aged between 7 months and 12 years. We all live in the same town, and we try to spend time with our sister, but we have to look after our kids too. Anytime we invite her to family gatherings, she refuses to come if our kids are around. The thing is, we can't just leave our kids every time she wants to hang out, and we can't ban our own children from family events. She would complain every time we refused to have a child-free event and say we need to include her more. Eventually, we stopped inviting her to events. My sister was furious with us for excluding her. She called us ungrateful for sacrificing her childhood to raise us. She accused us for abandoning her just like our parents did, and said it wasn't fair for her to be ostracized from such a close-knit family after all that she'd done for us. Of course I'm grateful for what she did, but I can't ignore my own kids. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Everyone sucks here. She's holding all of you responsible for your parents' bad behavior. That's unfair. I assume here that she's tried therapy to resolve her feelings as much as possible because avoiding children in life is pretty impossible. However, you and your siblings should still be extending invitations, regardless of whether you know she will decline or complain. The ball needs to stay in her court to maintain these relationships. And in the interim, or forever if she can't get past this, you and your siblings should make time for her, either in small groups or one-on-one. Not every date in life has to include the kids. As a parentified older sister, she has to deal with her trauma. It's not fair to her, it's not fair to you, it's not fair to anyone. My siblings have all kind of admitted now that I have trauma related to being parentified. Unfortunately, we are not close siblings. I can't play the role they need in their life anymore. Also a parentified oldest daughter, and I feel this only works if the younger siblings have healed their relationship as well. Oldest daughters end up excommunicated because in order to hold space for her trauma, the younger kids need to recognize that the parents were, willing or otherwise, villains. My younger sister thinks I'm just bossy and neurotic and it came out the blue. Not that my parents would beat me if sis didn't clean the house. There's no relationship there. We're all adults, and she still expects me to solve her problems. Now we are no contact. My brother can hold space for both my parents' feelings and mine. So when we're together, we aren't trapped in childhood sibling dynamic. It's not clear how Opie and the other siblings are aware of how, even as adults, they can perpetuate trauma and toxic dynamics. You're the a-hole. Assuming you or some of your siblings work, you find 40 hours a week to be away from your kids. But somehow you can't organize 4 hours a month to get together with a sister who raised you? And it's pretty disgusting that you've set up in your own head that if you do organize something with your sister, that you would be ignoring your own kids. Your sister needs therapy to overcome her trauma. Cutting her off will not help. Ultimately, it is her responsibility to get help. But if you and your siblings would regularly meet with her, over time she'll be happy to hear about your kids. And who knows, you might even plan something with your sister and the older kids to go to the zoo, or something your sister can handle. Last story. Am I the a-hole for taking over a family therapy session with my rant? I'm 16 male, currently in family therapy with my dad, his wife, my sister 14, and step-siblings 10, 9, and 7. This blended family thing is pretty new still, with my dad being remarried for 2 years. My mom died, so I only have one home. And I'll be honest, I was never excited or really into the whole blended family thing. But I know that's not my decision. All 3 of my step-siblings have food allergies. 2 have bad ones. So the way we eat changed a lot. This included places we eat that were a part of traditions. For most of my life, we'd eat at this local noodle bar in town for the end of the school year and whenever we had a school thing, play, graduation, report card, etc. And we're not allowed to go there anymore because of the allergies. Even just with Dad, it's a no-go. We can't bring ice cream into the house anymore because my step-siblings can't eat it. Only my dad and his wife can prepare food, so no more making a sandwich for myself either. Birthdays have changed. My sister and I can no longer eat at our preferred restaurant of choice because of my step-siblings, and we can't bring my favorite dish into the house either. So now, it's a place that my step-siblings love and is acceptable for their allergies. For 2 years, Dad has talked about how glad we are to make all these changes and how family is worth it. About 4 months ago, his wife noticed my sister and I weren't engaged with the family in the way she thought would be. We didn't want to talk to her. She also noticed my sister had cut me and her out of some photos of all of us and used just me and her for her room's art wall. So she and Dad decided we needed some family therapy. Since we started about 2 months ago officially, there's been a lot of "what's the problem? Why are we there? Explain the problem." And my dad has also talked about all the good from a blended family, and changes were mentioned, and he talks about how happy we all are to make them. Well, last week, I got so sick of it. And the therapist asked me if I was truly okay with them. And I went off. I said, no, I'm not. That I hate the changes. That it's unfair. That I never said I wanted my step-siblings to celebrate my birthday more than I wanted my favorite foods. That these things were decided for me. I said I never would have made that decision because celebrating with them isn't important to me. I'd rather have a good time with the people I love and enjoy food that I love instead. And that I hate not being able to make a sandwich or buy snacks after school. I basically went off for the whole session, between a rant and answering questions the therapist put to me. My dad is so mad at me for doing it, and his wife was really upset because her kids heard it. But she was also upset because she accepted on some level I didn't want this ever. She's also kinda mad that I took up a whole session with my rant. Am I the a-hole? Ugh, entitled parents. Kiddo, you're here asking if you were wrong to use the therapy you were shoved into. No, sweetheart, you're not wrong for that, nor for any of your feelings around your step-family. It was not your choice for them to join your family, and had your father not pushed this, you likely would not have been as against this. It's not your fault you weren't considered in this life-changing choice. I do not believe you can tell your dad not to date, marry, or whatever. But your dad, likewise, cannot demand that you be okay with choices made without you. Not a-hole, and your dad needs to back off, unless he wants to lose you and your sister. Yeah, exactly. Like, I can't tell him not to marry, and I can't ask him to stay single just because mom died. I always got that. But he just assumed he could say we were a family and suddenly would love these people and want them and see them like he did. Not the a-hole at all. You and your sister are the unhappy ones, so it's only natural that the focus will, at least initially, be disproportionately on the feelings of the two of you. Did your dad's wife expect the therapist would spend hours listening to her gushing about how happy she is that she's getting her way so much? She thought we'd bring up things that are, in her words, workable or fixable. That's what she told Dad when I heard them talk about it. But she realizes it's deeper because it's not like we, me and my sister, wanted to be a blended family. And she realizes I don't love her and her kids, which for her isn't a workable problem. I'm not even sure what she meant exactly. I guess something that's easy to fix.